What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with Coach Jimmy and Coach Mark. Today, we're going to be talking all about prioritizing your time, controlling your time, and most importantly, learning how to manage your time. So, we get hit up a lot, honestly, with guys knocking on our door saying, "Hey, I want to get signed up for coaching, but I'm busy." Right? Like we hear that all the time. Like, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. Well, in fact, most people really aren't too busy. It's more about how you take ownership and control your time. And we're actually going to go over some stats here in a second with Coach Mark that I think is going to shock you guys. At the end of the day, everybody's busy. Let's just face the facts here. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't say it's more about time management, because typically when there is time management or you're trying to manage best your time, you're being controlled by something. Hey, I have to do this because it's on my to-do list. Hey, I have to do this because of this. Hey, I have to do this because of this. But when you take full ownership and really start to control your time, you start to do what's best for you. That also has a bigger ROI that's going to help out maybe other people. That's also going to be a better, return on investment over the long period of time, or it's just structuring it differently. There's several different things and, resources that we can kind of throw at you guys. Grant Cardone talks about in his book, The 10X Rule. That's where we're going to be kind of going over some of these stats. Gary Keller talks about it also in the One Thing, which is a great read for anybody. And he talks about, swallowing the frog first. What is that big project at hand? What is that big task? Well, hey, instead of trying to do all these small, tiny little tasks and try to make ourselves feel better because we're able to accomplish more, we want to make sure that we start off with that project first in the day that's going to move the needle forward. And moving the needle forward to you might be better health, might be better relationships, maybe better finances, better career status, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, at Heartletics, yes, we're known as, fat loss coaching for men, but it's a lot more than that. We really try to inspire and motivate our members to take full ownership and action over their lives, to whether it's a different career path, whether it's financial independence, whether it's better relationships. We want to give them all the tools to succeed. And sometimes that means getting you the mental knowledge to be, mentally strong enough. Coach Mark, why don't you kind of break down some of the stats here? That was actually a really good, interesting read to see that, hey, at the end of the day, maybe people are actually making a lot more excuses and think that they're actually busy when they're actually not.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people complain about time. That's kind of like the biggest excuse, right? I don't have time. And instead of complaining, which is in and of itself a waste of time, they should be kind of pursuing the concept of, well, how can I use that time to get everything I want? Excuses are really just you avoiding reality. It's you saying, hey, this is what I'm going to say, as opposed to what's really going on, which is, I'm not able to effectively use my time to accomplish what I'm trying to. So you should be goal oriented in your use of time. You should set a focus on a goal, and when you've achieved that one, set a new one, because you should always be aiming towards something. As an example of that, right, don't sacrifice work for family or vice versa. Plan to maximize your use of time to accommodate both. Work with your family members, right, to plan effective use of time management. Journal how you spend your day so that you're keeping track of how your time is going, because a lot of people complain about time, but they can't account for it. They don't
Yeah.
know how they're spending the time. So if you actually look at it, you can analyze what you're wasting time on that's not accomplishing anything for you, and plan to minimize the time you spend doing that. You talked about those stats. So a 40-hour work week typically leaves you about 37 and a half hours of work time.
Pause. I want everybody to make sure they listen in on this real quick, because this right here shocked me when I actually heard the stats. And it's actually made me realize here that I need to do a better job at just taking control over more time. So listen what Mark's about to say. This is a golden nugget that hopefully wakes you guys up.
Yeah, so technically, right, if you look at a 40-hour work week, 37.5 hours of that should be work time, if you account for lunch. And let's face it, the reality is the way most people operate, not 37.5 hours of that time is being spent on work anyway. But, at maximum capacity, right, you've got about 37.5 hours. Now, how much of that is actually used towards your goals? But think about it in terms of the rest of the day, right? So about 16.6% of your time that's left over is typically spent on things like online time, TV, just, stuff that is not getting you anywhere towards your goals. And then 22.3% is sleep. So when people complain about time, how much of it is really actually being used towards accomplishing what you need to, because the imbalance occurs when you don't do enough with the time you have. It's not so much that you don't have time. You can't create more time than 24 hours in a day. But the way you can create time is by doing more in the time that you have and taking less time to do it. And that's freeing up more time in your day. Think of it like funds in a bank, right? If you had a limited number of funds in the bank, you would be doing everything you can to get the most value for that money, right? Making it grow, making it work for itself. Well, time is the same thing. You have to actually use that time in a way to get the most out of it that you possibly can. And that way, you do more in less time. That's how you create more time. That's the interest, so to speak, on time. Be grateful, right, for the work that you're doing. Don't look at it as something that you have to kind of slog through. It's a privilege, because when you look at it that way, you're going to see more reward and success at the work that you're doing. And when you see more reward and success, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now you're enjoying the work more, and it is going to be more rewarding, and it builds on itself. And then you're going to find yourself enjoying the time that you're spending. You're going to be looking for ways to spend more time doing it, as opposed to rushing through it to move on to the next thing. People, need to consider their goals in the order of the importance of them. So what I mean by that is look at the time that you have in the course of the day, look at your goals, put them in the order of importance, and then allocate your time based on those goals and their order of importance. And that way you're making sure to maximize the use of your time to most efficiently accomplish what you're trying to do. And then once you master that, you'll have success. And success, like I mentioned before, will bring happiness. It'll bring relaxation. Again, it goes back to that self-fulfilling prophecy. But when you talk about excuses, right, like we started off with, they're not reasons. Excuses are not actually reasons. Excuses are.
This is another golden nugget, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Listen up, guys. This is another golden nugget. So if anybody, and here's the thing, I make up excuses all the time, right? Like, hey, I can't do this because of this. I can't do this. And it wasn't until I heard what Mark's about to share about that really it makes you think about things differently. And that's the goal of the podcast, is to get you guys thinking differently. So Mark, continue, man, because this is about to be some good knowledge you're about to drop.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, excuses are not your reality. They're what you tell others to justify not using the time that you have. You're not late to work because there's traffic. You're late to work because you didn't allocate enough time to allot for traffic ahead of time, right? There's always the possibility of traffic. You didn't budget properly. Excuses are not going to change the situation that you're trying to improve upon. They're just going to suck more time out with you being negative and not accomplishing anything. If you blame things on your family, your work manager, your customer, other people, anyone but yourself, right? You're not going to get any improvement, because that's not going to accomplish anything. The answer is find a solution, right? The answer is, well, what, really led to this problem? What led to this, waste of time? And what do I do to change it moving forward so that I'm being more efficient moving forward? And be aware, right? Think about the excuses that you use repeatedly, because you'll find everyone, and we're all guilty of this. It's human nature, but everyone tends to rely on these similar excuses over and over again. So try and think about the ones that you're using, regularly. And that way you can kind of stop using them over and over again. You can kind of have a red flag go off when you hear that again and find a solution for it, as opposed to giving that same old tired excuse. Because things don't happen to you, they happen because of you. You have to take responsibility and ownership for your use of time. And this applies to your family time, your fitness and health time, your business and finance time. It's all really the same concept. Excuses are just wasting that time. Find the solution, maximize your time, schedule yourself, and do the most you can in the least amount of time.
Yeah. It really makes you think too, like, there's a lot of truth to that. How much time people are wasting watching the news, scrolling around on Facebook and Instagram, right? Sitting around on YouTube, not even being productive at work, just daydreaming or off, whatever, talking with your buddies there, coworkers. So it really kind of makes it in perspective of just like, we all have 24 hours in the day, right? But there's a lot more wasted time than we're taking ownership and actually taking control of. And yeah, it's kind of bittersweet. Like no one likes hearing that, like, hey, at the end of the day, like you're not prioritizing your time. Yeah, you're not taking control of it. But remember, a coach is always going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And we're all coaches here, right? And our job is to inspire and motivate. And sometimes that means telling you the reality of it, And so it's just, we want to give you guys a sense of hope. And, this is where Jimmy's going to kind of talk about is like, when you prioritize and manage and take control over your time, you can have such a greater outlook and things can really start shifting in the right direction. This is what led to not only his success on his fat loss journey, but just more mental clarity, prioritizing. And I don't want to take any juice away from you, Jimmy. So why don't you kind of go ahead and tell them as far as like, when you stop being a victim and start being a victor, right, to owning your time, what could happen?
Oh, tremendous things can happen. But piggybacking off of what Mark said and some of what you said, I mean, people think they can't be selfish with their time. And what I mean by that is when you think about taking time to go to the gym, taking time to work on my craft, taking time, with my fat, whatever it is, you think I can't be selfish to improve myself. But think about it this way. Are you not being selfish by sitting there looking at your phone, sitting there when you get home from work, taking a nap, watching TV, instead of going and playing with your kids or going to the gym? That's selfish. So if you want to look at it like that, yeah, you can be selfish a little bit with your time. Utilize it for yourself improvement. Go to the gym, be healthy, read a book, spend time with your kids. And by doing these things, and improving yourself and doing all the things Mark talked about as far as controlling your time and not managing it, you can find the time to do all the things you want to do, to be the person you want to be successful, and to spend the time with your family and build relationships with them and be a leader for them. And I think that's, something I learned quickly, is that up until my mind opened to, I need to work on myself so I can help other people, so I can help my family, because the state I was in, I wasn't good for anybody, not myself, not my kids, not anybody. But when you get yourself right in this right frame of mind, and you get your body healthy, your mind healthy, you have a purpose, a focus. I mean, you're just benefiting everybody around you. I mean, not just your family, the people that are around you radiates off of you positivity, confidence. And I mean, who doesn't want that? And that's not being selfish, man. That's being a person that wants a better world, wants it for everybody.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So guys, as we're, closing things up here for the, the end of the podcast, a few things to just kind of keep in mind as far as the takeaways. Mark gave you guys the stats. At the end of the day, there's a lot more wasted time, and take accountable of that, right? Honestly, take accountability of that and just focus. Like, how much time are you actually wasting not being productive at work? How much time are you scrolling through social media? How much time are you, wasting away, maybe just, watching things or listening to things that don't actually bring you any value, I try to control my life as much as possible, and everything's in a time frame. And I don't mean to say that to say I'm better by anybody else, but I just know that I do better when I follow a set schedule. And I know that, hey, if I'm, scheduling out and taking control over my time, I want to make sure that the biggest thing that I have to do first, right? The biggest project, the biggest task that's going to have the biggest ROI, that needs to be done first in the morning. That needs to make sure that is a priority. I'm not trying to do all these smaller tasks that doesn't have the biggest ROI afterwards. Jimmy, for example, with you, your biggest ROI was investing into yourself, into Heartletics. Think about it. That's what led to not only losing 130 pounds, but because of that, you were able to actually help out your family, creating sustainable habits for them, teaching them, being a leader, but also inspiring thousands of other guys in the Facebook group over at Heartletics. I mean, your post today inside the community group was amazing about, self-gratitude. Mark, same thing with you with losing over 90 pounds and, taking action, right? Like talking to your wife, Jen, hey, Jen, I want to do this, right? Do you support me on this? Because I know I need to do this so I have more energy, feeling better about myself. And I'm looking in the long run for our family. And what did she say? She said, hey, does he coach couples also? And the answer was yes. So it's just like, you never know what happens when you start taking control of your life. But here's the reality. The biggest takeaway, in my opinion, from hearing, Mark and Jimmy both speak, nobody is going to hand you that silver spoon, right? Nobody. So stop being the victim, right? Stop making excuses. Stop saying, oh, I'm only because of this, because of XYZ. I'm only because of this, because of so-and-so. Every time you point the finger at somebody or something, you have 3 fingers pointing back at you. That's the reality. But once you take ownership and control over your life, your time, you can start to have a better priority, of a sense of like, what do I need today to get to where I'm trying to get to? And when you have clarity on your goals, it's going to help you out every step of the way. If you guys want more information on how to actually be a goal getter, we did a whole entire goal setting masterclass. I'll have it linked over at the, my YouTube at the very bottom. So you guys can just click on that to watch. And it's just going to break down, like, when you are actually selfish on focusing on your one main goal, you never know. You might be able to help out a lot of other, aspects and a lot of other people along that journey of you becoming the best version of yourself. And there's nothing selfish about that at all. That's it, guys. So hopefully you guys got some value. If you did, definitely let us know. Either, share this on your Facebook or your Instagram, tag us in it, or just leave a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube. And as always, guys, it's been Coach Joe, Coach Mark, and Coach Jimmy with the Heartletics podcast. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.